Let all men learn of him until they can do as he did, for he was and still is the teacher above all others. He was the first advocate of homeopathy, and we must look to him. And all deviation from his teachings should receive another name. Now, this quote has been taken from Kent's lesser writings. Now, if you just read again the last line, all deviation from his teachings, that includes the teachings given regarding the selection of genus epidemicus during an epidemic. So, all deviation from his teaching should receive another name. Basically, if we are doing something that is not in accordance with the teachings of Hahnemann, then it is not homeopathy. Some other name should be given to such teachings. So this is, now see, this is exactly what is happening, as we can see in the last few weeks. Lot of renowned doctors and many people are coming up with their own speculation and assumptions and deciding or declaring some or the other remedy as being the genus epidemicus. Now, first of all, we need to understand what exactly are the guidelines given in our literature to select this genus epidemicus. So let's see that. Now, this is again taken from Lectures on Homeopathic Philosophy by J.T. Kent. It says, if an epidemic comes upon the land, only a few come down with it. Why are some protected and why do others take it? This is a question that we will definitely answer from the literature itself as we go along. Now, let's move on. Book further says, many physicians waste their time searching after the things that make their patients sick. The sick man will be made sick under every circumstance, whereas the healthy man could live in a lazaretto. If the epidemic is entirely different from anything that has hitherto appeared in the neighborhood, it is at first confusing. Now, this is exactly what has happened with the coronavirus. This is something new, something that has not appeared before, something that is different from anything that has so far appeared. So, in the first place, it is very confusing, and that confusion we all can see. From the first few cases, the physician has a very vague idea of this disease because he sees only a fragment of it and gets only a portion of its symptoms. Now, just imagine from this sentence, it is very clear that it will not be possible for a physician to get the complete picture of the epidemic just by examining a few cases. And in this case, as far as corona is concerned, we are talking about deciding on the genus epidemicus even without examining a single case. We are trying to repertorize based on the symptoms that we have got or heard from somewhere else. How strange it is, isn't it? And we expect homeopathy to work in such cases with such kind of prescriptions made. Anyhow, let's move on. But the epidemic spreads and many patients are visited, and 20 individuals has perhaps been closely observed. Now, once you get a chance to handle a few cases, say around 20 cases, when you give a close observation on all those 20 cases, then probably you will get an idea about the symptoms common to that epidemic. That is exactly what is said in the book. Let's move on. Now, if the physician will write down all the symptoms that has been present in each case in a schematic form, arranging the mind symptoms of the different patients under mind and the head symptoms under head and so on, following Hahnemann's method. Now, as and when you see these cases, when you start handling the cases which belongs to that epidemic attack, you have to write down all the symptoms of that you have observed in each of those patients. The mind symptoms should be written under the heading of mind, the head symptoms should be written under the heading of head, the throat symptoms should be mentioned under the heading of throat. So, for all these 20-25 cases that you are initially getting, this should be done first. Then what to do? Let's see. then they considered collectively present one image as if one man had expressed all the symptoms, and in this way he will have that particular disease in schematic form. Now once you have handled and written down these symptoms, say from around 20-25 people, so when you collectively take it together, the common symptoms of mind, the common symptoms of head, the common symptoms of throat, common symptoms in the sense the symptoms which appeared commonly in all those 20 or 25 people, majority of people. So when you collectively segregate, isolate the symptoms that were observed in majority of these 25 people, then you will get an idea about the disease, the image of the disease. If he places opposite each symptom a number corresponding to the number of patients in which that symptom occurred, he will find out the essential features of the epidemic. Now to find out the essential features of the epidemic, if once the symptoms of 20-25 people suffering from this epidemic has been noted down, then if you just mark a number, say out of 25, say 10 people have got frontal headache, then say 15 people have got irritation in throat, then say another 12 people had some other symptom. So when you group together all the symptoms that are common in majority of these people who has been examined by you, then you will get an idea about the essential features of that epidemic. Now here an example is given. For example, 20 patient had aching in bones, and at once he sees that that symptom is a part of this epidemic. So this is just an example that is given. Now there is another example given. All the patients had catarrhal affections of the eye and a measly rash, and these also must be recorded as pathognomonic symptoms. And so by taking the entire scheme and studying it as a whole, as if one patient had experienced all the symptoms, he is able to perceive how this new disease, this contagious disease affects the human race and each particular patient, and he is able to predicate of it what is general and what is particular. Now see here, once these symptoms which belongs to the majority of people has been isolated and segregated, then the picture of that epidemic can be formed, and then now the physician will be able to understand how is the trend in which this epidemic is going to affect the people, and he will be also be able to distinguish between what are the general symptoms in this epidemic attack and what are the particular symptoms. That isolation is also very essential. Now see friends, keep in mind, by now you must have realized that those who are sincerely following it, this is not an easy task. Lot of hard work is involved in it. Let's move on further. Every new patient has a few new symptoms. He has put his stamp on that disease. Now this is very important. In each case of such epidemic attack, there will be some symptoms that is common to the epidemic that you will find in majority of people. Apart from that, there will be a certain group of symptoms that belongs to that individual, that is a peculiarity of that individual alone, that you will not find in common in all the people. It will be something that is very peculiar to that individual patient alone. So what is the importance of these symptoms? That also we will see. Those symptoms that run through all are the pathognomonic symptoms. Those which are rare and those which are rare are the peculiarities of the different people. So just imagine now, once you have seen 20 cases, 20-25 cases, out of those 20-25 cases you will notice that there are a lot of symptoms that are common to the disease, which in fact majority of us have taken and repertorized and have come up with a remedy. That is not the way, that is not at all the way. So apart from those common symptoms, there will be some individual symptoms in lot of people. Those individual symptoms are the rare peculiarities of different people. Those has to be given first priority and importance, and this can be traced only when a homeopath shall examine a patient, because our way of examining a patient and the way of examining of patient by other system is totally different. They don't give importance to the mind symptoms or the generalities, whereas we as homeopaths give more importance to the symptoms of the patient, his peculiarities. So even if we are examining a case of epidemic, 20-25 cases, of out of those 20-25 cases, there will be some peculiarities that belongs to each and every individual. Those has to be isolated first. This totality represents to the human mind as nearly as possible the nature of the sickness, and it is this nature that the therapist must have in mind. It's very clear that it is not the common symptoms that belongs to the epidemics has to be considered, but that individual peculiarities that is there deserves more value, deserves to get more value. Now let him take the next step, which is to find in general the remedies that correspond to this epidemic. Now we have got a list of symptoms, we have got now the totality. Now the next task is to find out a remedy or a group of remedies that will cover these symptoms. So let's see what the book further says. By the aid of a repertory, he will write after each one of those symptoms all the remedies that has produced that symptom. Now this is not required at in today's era, because we all have the softwares of repertory. So using the softwares of repertory, we can easily feed in this totality into the repertory software, and we can get the repertorial result within fraction of a second. So that will give us what that will give. Let's see. Having in this way gone through the entire schema, he can then begin to eliminate for practical purposes, and he will see that 6 or 7 remedies run through the picture and therefore are related to the epidemic corresponding to its whole nature. Now once the repertorization has been done, once we have got the repertorial result, we may find that around 6 or 7 remedies are there that covers almost the entire picture. So it is not just about one remedy, but the task is to select a group of 6 or 7 remedies that will cover almost all the symptoms taken together out of this totality which we have formed. Now let's see what is next. This may be called the group of epidemic remedies for that particular epidemic, and with this he will manage to cure nearly all his cases. Now here see, it is very important that it's not mentioned about any one particular remedy being the genus epidemicus. It is being mentioned about that group of epidemic remedies, 6 or 7 epidemic remedies that will come after the repertorization has been done, and these 6 or 7 remedies will be enough for the physician to cure nearly all his cases. The question now arises, which one is the remedy for each individual case, that is, which is our genus epidemicus. When he has worked out the half dozen remedies, he can go through the Mater Medica and get their individual pictures so fixed in his mind that he can use them successfully. Now once you have shortlisted 6 or 7 remedies, you have to go back to the Mater Medica and read all these 6 and 7 remedies thoroughly to get the complete picture of these individual drugs, so that when you have a patient in front of you, you can easily prescribe him based on the picture that you have formed of sickness. Thus he proceeds from generals to particulars, and there is no other way to proceed in homeopathy. Now just imagine all those people who are claiming that they have found a genus epidemicus and they are sharing their totality. Are they following this approach? Think for yourself before blindly start sharing their their findings. Now he is called to a family with a half a dozen patients in bed for this epidemic, and he finds a little difference in each case, so that one remedy is indicated in one patient and the other remedy is indicated in the other patient. Now if the physician has to go to see a family where 6 or 7 members have been affected by this epidemic, he cannot blindly go there thinking that okay, I have the genus epidemicus decided, I am going to blindly give that to all of them. No, that is not the way. If you know that, okay, I have handled 25-50 cases of epidemics, and out of those 50 cases 30 people got arsenic, then arsenic probably seems to be the genus epidemicus. So when you get into a house to examine patient, first of all you need to confirm yourself whether the symptoms of the patient is fitting with arsenic or not. If it is not fitting with arsenic, then you have another six remedies out of that epidemic group of remedies. From you have to then judge out of those 6 remedies which one is fitting to the patient. So similarly, it is not necessary that if 6 people are suffering in one family, all the 6 people deserves to get the same remedy. If the symptoms doesn't match in, then they may ask for a different remedy. So it cannot be taken for granted that the genus epidemicus, once it is decided, can be applied blindly to all cases. Now we are talking here not about prevention, we are talking here about curing the cases. We will talk about prevention a little later. There is no such thing in homeopathy as administering one of these remedies to all in the family because of the diagnostic name. Just because everybody has corona, that is the diagnostic name, we cannot blindly apply the same remedy to all. The individualization has to be still done. Now, while one of the remedies in the epidemic group will most likely to be indicated in many cases, yet if none of these should fit the patient, the physician must return to his original anamnesis to see which one of the other remedies is suitable. Now, as I said, if arsenic has, if 50 cases has been observed and treated by a homeopath, and he has found that out of those 50 patients, 35 people got arsenic, then arsenic seems to be the genus epidemicus that can be indicated as long as the symptoms match. If the symptom is not matching with arsenic, then he has to come back and refer to the other remedies available before giving the patient a dose of medicine. Very rarely will a patient demand a remedy not in the anamnesis. Now, this group of epidemic remedies that we have formed, the group of 6 or 7 remedies that we have formed, it is most likely that the patient will require any one of those remedies. If not the one that is most commonly indicated, if the symptoms are contraindicating, then out of those other 5 remedies, one remedy should fit in. Every remedy has in itself a certain state of peculiarities that identifies it as an individual remedy, and the patient also has a certain state of peculiarities that identifies him as an individual patient, and so the remedy is fitted to the patient. This is very simple. Every patient has got certain peculiarities, and every remedy also has certain peculiarities. So these peculiarities has to match, so that remedy is fitted to the patient. Now we have also seen that some people say that arsenic is being given because arsenic has fear in the Remeter Medica, so it will remove the fear from the patient. That is totally in a wrong direction. It is, we are not here just talking about one peculiarity. Fear is just one peculiarity that is there in arsenic, and that fear is just one peculiarity that is there in the patient. There are other remedies in which the fear is there, there are other patients in which the fear is there. So the group of peculiarities has to match, not each individual symptom. That doesn't decide the remedy, and it is a false understanding that arsenic is given because it will remove the fear. That is totally in wrong direction. No remedy must be given because it is in the list, for the list has been made as a means of facilitating the study of that epidemic. Now this list we are talking about is those group of 5 or 6 or 7 remedies, the epidemic group of remedies that we discussed just a while ago. So no remedy must be just given because that is there in the list. You have to understand the patient, take out his peculiarities and compare with which remedy is covering it. Now what is the difference in the usual way we work out a case and in this way? In the usual way we don't have this group of 6 or 7 remedies in our mind. In the usual way when we work out an individual case, the Meter Medica is open, all the remedies has equal chances, whereas in a case of epidemic you have to concentrate only on the 6 or 7 group of epidemic remedies, so that your time you don't consume too much time in selecting the remedy for the patient. Now this is how the remedy has to be selected in case of an epidemic attack. There are plenty of other things that is given in our literature regarding handling the epidemic cases that I will be sharing in the next video. Please be aware that friends, homeopathy really has the potential to prevent and cure epidemic cases. First of all, in this video I have shown you from the literature how the what is the procedure that has to be followed to select a genus epidemica. So keep in mind that unless we don't get a chance to see the patients, now the government is not permitting the homeopaths to handle the cases, but if we had a unity, if we had a proper understanding of what exactly is given in the literature, instead of coming out with various names, we could have united and appealed to the government. At least if they are not giving us a chance to treat, at least give a chance to consult the patients who has got positive result, because then we will be able to decide based on that the remedy that can protect others. How that prevention happens and on what basis the prevention medicine is selected, that also we will see in the next video.